but very exhausting. We left home on January 9th, and it is February 21st, so it's been a while. And then we started in the States and went all across Canada with All Time Low. We went to Russia, we went from there to Turkey, to Sweden, and then we've been all over Europe. So it's been a long, long trip. Unfortunately, no. This is actually my first time in the city, but we didn't really have very much time today. I wish that we would have been able to come on a day off yesterday. A good set of a lot of new songs from our new record, Southern Air. Obviously, that's what we're supporting. So, playing a lot of those songs, and then obviously a lot of the songs that people probably would expect to hear. Some, maybe a couple that they wouldn't expect. But I think a good mix. Usually when we're choosing, depends on when the tour is. Like for instance now, we're supporting the new record, so obviously our focus is going to be to play a lot of those songs. And we also want to play songs that maybe we haven't played a lot. So we go through and we pick new songs to play, and we go through each record that we've done in the past to say, okay, let's make sure we get a couple from this record, a couple from this record. There's obviously certain songs that's in the singles that we know we have to play. And then when it comes to other songs that maybe aren't quite as expected, we'll try to change it up, maybe play songs that we haven't played a lot, or something people won't expect, kind of throw them,
for the most important fans.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
And then in terms of having a fan, we did a show, like a live internet webcast show for MySpace in 2007, and fans were able to pick the set. Basically we had a list of 20 or 30 songs or something, and they could pick them, so we basically just had to make sure we knew them. The problem is we've had some member changes in the past, and so not everybody, we couldn't just sit down and play any song from our back catalog. We'd have to rehearse it, so if someone said, hey, play, Miles Apart from Ocean Avenue, we haven't played that song. So we literally would not know how to play it unless we rehearsed it. So if someone shouts a song out, it's not as easy as just playing it. It's, like we have to actually practice it, Well, that's an interesting question, but it wasn't as simple as just going from that record to that. There's 2 records in between, so it wasn't just black and white. There was a transition.
Yes.
Obviously, we did Paper Walls in 2007, and then When You're Through Thinking Say Yes in 2011. And so it is an interesting change that you said, but I think a lot of it has to do with lyrically with Ryan Key's lyrics. I think that the place that he was in when he wrote Lights and Sounds is very different than where he is now. I think that since we've taken a break for a few years, in 2008 to 2010, that reoriented him, and I think it kind of grounded him a little bit, and he is in a different mental space than he was back then, and so I think that comes through in his writing of lyrics for the new songs. We've talked about it, but I think that our concern now is really just writing songs that we know that our fans will enjoy, that will translate very well live and be energetic and just be fun to play. I think that there was a lot of thinking really hard about songs back then, and I think that we're trying hard to not do that. We write something, we say, we like that, sounds good, let's move on. And I think that there's an energy and a rawness that happens when you do that, and I think that that's kind of what we're trying to focus on. The one difference is for Southern Air and our last record, we're on an independent label called Hopeless Records. So we did each one of those records in about 5 weeks each. In the past, when we've been on Capitol Records, we've had longer times, able to kind of experiment more and do those types of things. With the records now, with the shorter budget, we kind of have to be a little more focused and move quicker. This process was basically exactly the same as it was for When You're Through Thinking Say Yes. We had a bunch of songs written, and then Neil, our producer, came in and worked with us for about a week and just kind of did some pre-production, and then we just went in 5 weeks and just knocked it all out. So the last 2 records have been that. I think the main difference is probably just the resources and the size of the label. Obviously with a major label, it's such a big company, they have so many resources, But the bad side is that since it's such a big company, that half the people there don't even know who you are because there's so many bands. A label like Hopeless, they love the band. They were very adamant about wanting to sign us. Everyone that works at the label believes in us and loves us, and you can tell with them. You know, everything they do, they're very, very proactive about wanting to really do the best for the band. And major labels aren't always like that. They always kind of want to do what's best for the label. And they don't care as much about the band. So, so that's one of the main things. And the thing is with the internet these days, a major label is almost not even really necessary. For a rock band, I mean, Hopeless has great distribution, you know, the same as any major label. And that's really what matters. They can get the music out there. It's obviously available online, and they do such great work just in the scene and on the internet and things that we couldn't be happier. I think that question might be a little bit better for Ryan as he writes the lyrics, but at the same time I could probably say a little bit, I think Here I Am Live is very, very, I think what you're saying is correct. You can tell in that song that it's very much, you're kind of taking the bad things that people said and you try to not think about it, and you're focusing on moving forward, and I think that's kind of, I think that comes through in the band in general, you know. I mean, we took a few years off, and when we came back we didn't know how it was going to be, but the reception was overwhelming, and I think that we can feel it. And I mean, look, we're in Italy here, and we're about to play a show tonight, and you know, we didn't know how it was going to go a couple years ago when we came back, and it's been great, so I think we feel very fortunate. Again, that's a question more for him. I can say that
maybe you know.
I can say that the song is from a personal experience he had, but in terms of answering more than that, that's really up to him. But it is from his life. I will say that. I know that the record that he was referring to when he wrote that is Through Being Cool. That was a record that I think we all, when we were kind of first starting bands, like, both I really loved their first record, Can't Slow Down, a lot as well. Both those first two records were great, and we loved them as well. We were so lucky to get to tour with them actually a year and a half ago. We did a European tour with them, and it was amazing. But anyways, in terms of artists that inspired us when we were young, I think we all kind of came from a similar background of listening to the melodic punk rock, like Fat Records, Epitaph, Strung Out, No Effects, Propaganda, Lagwagon, No Use for Name, those types of bands. I think we really first, when we were teenagers, we all started wanting to play that kind of stuff. And you can tell when you listen to really, really old Yellowcard stuff, very fast, very much like that. But since then, I think we've obviously, I mean, we're older now, so we've matured some. I think the classics, like the Foo Fighters and Nirvana and Weezer, those types of bands have influenced us a lot. I'm personally influenced a lot by a lot of actual heavy metal, but like melodic metal, like European, Scandinavian bands, that kind of stuff. It's tough these days, I think, because there are so many bands, more so than ever. I think the internet and the ease of access to recording software makes anyone able to make a band and a record in their own bedroom. So there are so many bands out there. So it's tough to find one and think, oh, you know, man, these guys really got it, because it's hard for any band to break away from other bands these days, like new up-and-coming bands. So even if there is a band that's really good, it's almost like there's so much luck involved in the right timing, and if they're going to succeed or not. It's very hard, yeah. I can't really answer that question exactly, but I know that we will be announcing something soon, and I think that what we're announcing is a lot bigger than just like a tour. There's more to it than that, but it will be announced fairly soon, so you'll find out. I've always loved playing Way Away live. It's always fun. It's great to hear the crowd sing, and it's just one of the more fun songs I enjoy playing. Most embarrassing moment on stage? That's a great question. I've been fortunate enough to not have any super drastic problems on stage. I think I might have fallen one, like there might have been a chord that I slipped on and I fell a couple times, you know, but nothing drastic. technical difficulties are always embarrassing, even though they're out of our control. Like if something just stops working. We played actually the last show that the tour was stayed today was in Portugal, and like a couple songs into our set, the PA turned off.
That's not your fault.
Exactly, it's not our fault, but you're standing on stage, and what are you supposed to do? So we kind of imposed, and we got out acoustic guitars, and we just played and had the crowd sing until they could get it turned back on. And it ended up being really fun, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. We're just basically going to be touring for Southern Air, obviously. There's probably going to be some festival stuff in Europe. There's going to be some other stuff that we have yet to announce yet that are related to your previous question. But we're going to be pretty busy through the end of the year. Eggs, the food?
Yes, the food.
I personally love eggs, but it's funny that you asked that question because Josh, our bass player, hates eggs more than anything in the world. So I really wish that you could have asked him that question. But I love eggs. I love them. I eat them all the time. Ciao, I'm a troublemaker.